KP Video News. It's KP Video News, y'all.
KP's Video News, y'all. I'm coming to you with some serious stories here. And this article I'm going to call Disturbing Revelations. And some real disturbing revelations that have been popping up over the last 24 hours. And a lot of this stuff is real. And it's going on right now. So, I'm going to bring it to you the way I get it. And I have to, sometimes it takes me a little time. I've been searching, and I found this story on the white cop who knelt on George Floyd's neck in Minnesota had a history of violence against minorities. On Tuesday, May 25th, 2020, George Floyd was being arrested in Minneapolis, Minnesota for allegedly committing forgery. Video from a store surveillance camera and a witness's cell phone captured the moments when Floyd was being taken into custody and physically restrained by Minneapolis police officer Derek Chauvin and 3 other officers. Chauvin had held his knee on Floyd's neck as Floyd said, "I can't breathe," several times as he gasped for air. Floyd was rushed by ambulance to a hospital where he was pronounced dead. However, Floyd was not the first minority suspect to face physical violence from Chauvin, according to published reports. On October 27th, 2006, Chauvin was on the scene during the shooting death of Wayne Reyes, a Latino man. After responding to an alleged stabbing, Chauvin, with 5 other officers from the Minneapolis Police Department, chased Reyes as he ran to his truck. In the police report, the officers claim that Reyes was reaching for a weapon after he opened the truck's door, but Reyes' family disputed the notion that Reyes was reaching for a gun after viewing a video of the incident. The officers on the scene reportedly fired 42 rounds. 16 of those rounds hit Reyes. All of the officers who shot at Reyes eventually were cleared by a grand jury. In 2008, Chauvin was involved in another shooting that involved a minority. According to the media, Chauvin and another officer were responding to a domestic dispute when he shot an unarmed black man, Ira Tolles, 21 years old, after forcing their way inside Tolles' apartment. The officers attempted to subdue the subject and claimed that Tolles grabbed at one of their weapons. Chauvin shot Tolles in the torso. After being placed on administrative leave, Chauvin returned to the force. On Tuesday, May 26, Chauvin and 3 other officers were fired after video emerged of Chauvin kneeling on Floyd's neck for over 7 minutes. Although Chauvin has yet to be charged at press time, according to the published reports, he has hired an attorney, Tom Kelly, who represented Geronimo Yanez, a police officer. Yanez was acquitted in the shooting death of Philando Castile in 2017. And if you remember that case, that was the Castile was the man who was sitting in his car with his wife and his baby, and the police just opened fire on him, killed him, and he could have killed his wife, could have killed his baby, and that cop eventually got fired from the police department. However, he didn't go to jail, and he should have went to prison for that. Okay, now part 2 is the teen who videotaped Floyd's deadly encounter with police is facing backlash. Without the video of what will become George Floyd's last moments of life going viral, the 4 Minneapolis cops who were fired may still yet. The teen who videotaped the horrific scene says she has been traumatized by social media trolls ever since. Darnella Frazier just happened to be in the area when Floyd was being arrested and put on the ground. At that moment, the teen had the presence of mind to turn on her cell phone and record the disturbing video that shows a police officer with his knee on Floyd's neck for several minutes as Floyd repeatedly says he couldn't breathe. Frazier's video sparked a multi-pronged investigation by local, state, and federal law enforcement agencies. and the unprecedented firing of the 4 police officers involved within 24 hours of the footage's release. Despite her heroism, Frazier and her mother told the media that she has secluded herself in her home since the video went viral due to vocal critics who claimed she was a clout chasing and aired the video for monetary gain. After withstanding the fierce backlash, Frazier sounded off on her Facebook account about being traumatized twice. First by watching what the cop did to Floyd, and then by the grief she's received from critics in the hours and days since. I'm doing it for clout, for attention, for what? To get paid. Now y'all all sound dumb and ignorant, she wrote. I don't expect anyone who wasn't placed in my position to understand why and how I feel the way that I do. Mind you, and of course, I'm not about to fight off a cop. I'm scared. What do you expect me to do? And so she, the girl is, traumatized by this situation. And so if you really want to see it, you can go to, it was a Facebook message and additional social media posts. And the teen, everybody should be giving her, they should be giving her one of these. That's what she should be giving. Hey, and if it had been a man, I wish if it had been some men over there that had some balls, they should have been able to jump in and actually stop and force the doggone police to get off the man's neck. Hey, what can they do? What can they possibly do? Hey, that's what happens. When you see some stuff like that, don't just sit there with a doggone camera or your phone trying to take pictures of it. Get in the middle of that shit, and basically, hey man, you can, if you can't do nothing else, you can at least embarrass the motherfuckers enough to stop doing what they're doing. Okay, the Minneapolis pawn shop owner shot and killed a suspected looter, and so this is the backlash. This is the aftermath of what's been going on in Minnesota. So the owner of Cadillac Pawn and Jewelry, a store in Minneapolis, Minnesota, shot and killed a suspected looter. The police said in a press conference that this was only one theory being investigated in the shooting death of a man found lying on the sidewalk near the store. Heavy was now confirmed through jail records that the store's owner, Richard Rappel, 59, of Wisconsin, has been booked on a murder accusation. You can read more about his background here. And the report comes as unrest grows in the streets of Minneapolis after the death of George Floyd and the viral video that showed a police officer restraining Floyd with the knee on his neck despite bystanders' pleas that Floyd was in distress. And so, a very graphic video circulating on social media appears to show the aftermath outside Cadillac Pawn. And it's a disturbing video, and it's a really disturbing video, and it's a person's body lying on the sidewalk, not inside the store, outside the store. So some reports claim that the 2 people were shot at the pawn shop, but police only described one person being shot. And the police spokesperson said authorities have someone in custody and investigating many theories. And press conference, John Elder, the public information officer for Minneapolis police, said that a body was found outside the pawn shop at around 9:25. There was a report of a possible stabbing victim. Police then located a male adult in grave condition lying on the sidewalk. Officers immediately began first aid, including CPR. Sheriff deputies arrived and assisted. Paramedics got through the crowd and transported the male adult to a hospital where he was pronounced deceased. The wound was later determined to be a gunshot wound. At this time, the scene is just finishing being processed by a crime lab and our homicide investigators. He said the nature and cause of death will be released later, along with the identity of the victim. One person who was not identified is in custody at this time. The facts that led up to the shooting are still being sorted out. 2 officers arrived and one performed CPR immediately. This was close to the area of the protest. The elder called the death a homicide, and you can watch the police press conference here. And it's a couple of videos on this article that I'm reading. And a reporter asked Elder if it was true the victim was someone who was looting the Cadillac Pawn shop and the store owner was racing in and took action. And Elder responded, "That is one of the theories we're looking into." He said police are investigating multiple theories about what happened to the man. The body was found outside, and there are a couple of different scenarios that may have happened. That's being investigated, he said. We want to make sure that we do, in fact, have all the facts moving forward. We don't want to cast aspersions on somebody if, in fact, they weren't doing anything wrong. He declined to spell out the different theories. According to the area, the castle doctrine says if you're in your home and you have the right to stand your ground, it's my understanding you do have a right to duty to retreat. Your business is not the same as your home. Keller law officers wrote in a post before Cadillac Pawn incidents, while many states have enacted stand your ground laws, Minnesota does not have a so-called stand your ground law. Instead, Minneapolis imposed a duty to retreat, which means that if a person feels threatened, he or she may use deadly force as a last resort. Conversely, states that have enacted stand your ground laws like Florida make it lawful for a person to use deadly force if threatened without a duty to retreat. And so it's like Minnesota. It's really crazy situation here that they have going on, and Minnesota's going. People are going. It's getting pretty rough up there. It's going to be a long, hot summer, and so it's going to be a long, hot summer. So they've been having some issues up there. They've been doing. It's quite a few little riots going on. It has been a little bit of looting. Some things, stores have been looted in the process. Those opportunists that feel that that's that's the way that they're going, but that's not what really needs to be going on right now. And here, this is this is part 4, and this right here is this happened in Michigan, not in Minnesota. This happened in Michigan, and it's a black woman in Michigan punched in the head while repeatedly by a white sheriff. And another video has emerged of a black person being physically abused by a cop. On May 26th, Cetina Gray and her husband Dan Gray were at the scene of a shooting in Ypsilanti Township, Michigan. The incident began after officers arrived on the scene and found a 34-year-old female gunshot victim. While attempting to create a barrier between the crime scene and civilians, the officers attempted to move Cetina and Dan from the scene. But after the two allegedly refused to leave the scene, a White County sheriff, West Tennessee deputy was filmed punching Cetina in her head multiple times and using a taser on her husband Dan. The two were eventually arrested and taken to the county jail. The video, which was released on the same day as George Floyd's untimely death, eventually went viral and sparked the Ypsilanti Township and on social media, sparked outrage. Many believe that it serves as another act of violence against unarmed black people. The deputy who punched Cetina was reportedly placed on administrative leave. His name has yet to be released. We are finders of facts, which the county sheriff's office said in a statement. We want to seek the truth, find the facts, and provide all context. What was going on? What was the specific resistant behavior? What was the officer's attempts to use force? We're going to respond to that. And so there you go. This is another story of this is a black woman being punched in the head repeatedly by a white male cop, and somebody, they're at the scene. So obviously it must have been one of their. It was a female, that gunshot victim. So it's obviously that they knew that person, the gunshot victim. So sometimes when people see one of their relatives that has been injured, a lot of times they want to stay on the scene. They want they want to be there with their family member that's hurt. So that's something that, you know, this whole thing that's going on right now lets me know that it's a lot of police departments out there that really truly need to retrain their officers in how to deal with people, because these cases are coming. I mean, right, like I said yesterday, in the middle of a health and a pandemic that's killed over 100,000 people and people have died. This is the type of treatment that is going on in the United States against everybody, really, but these cases I've been showing have been against black people and people of color and minorities, and it's really a sad day that in the middle of all this nonsense, minorities still got to go through this total bullshit dealing with the police. It's real sad. It's real sad, I tell you. So eventually, what's going to happen is people are going to get tired of this nonsense. They're going to get tired of it, and they're going to start doing something about it.